How to cook beef chasseur. Hello everybody, my name is James Howe and this is Chef at Home. And today I'm continuing on with some of my favourite go-to lean meals. Packed with plenty of flavour, plenty of protein, but none of the guilt. But before I switch on the stove, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it really helps me out. But back to the food. This dish really takes me back to when I was a little chef, about 16, 17 years old, walking into my first proper kitchen, and the traditional version of this dish was used as the chef's special for that evening, and just tasting it I fell in love with the cuisine. But this version I'm going to do today is heavily influenced from the memory of that dish and recreating the flavour but in a cleaner way, and just be a little bit more waistline friendly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to season my steak and get some flavour in straight from the off. So I've just popped a steak in this tray for the moment, and I'm just going to pour over a couple of teaspoons of oil and a good helping of salt and pepper. And I'm just going to make sure all that seasoning is getting onto the steak. Then I'm just going to pop this to one side and let the salt and pepper just work its way through the meat. Then to prep our sauce, it's going to trim some spring onion and then just chop it down and just peel the skin off some chestnut mushrooms and chop in half and just slice down. Last bit of vegetation, I'm just going to chop some garlic, and I just need to cut some bacon lardons, but I'm going to trim the fat off and then just slice the bacon down. And the last thing I need to prep is some chicken stock, so here's one I made earlier. If you have a look on my channel for the masterclass series, you'll be able to find the video for chicken stock in there. So to begin cooking out our sauce, I've just got a nice saute pan on here on medium heat with a splash of oil in there. I'm just going to pop in my bacon. Give it a bit of loving occasionally, but that's going to saute away now for 2 to 3 minutes. Now the bacon's just starting to get a little bit of colour on there. I'm going to start adding in my veg that we chopped earlier. So I'm going to start off with about 2/3 of the spring onion. After another minute we can then add in our mushrooms. Now we've really got our base flavours going, I'm going to add in a tablespoon of tomato puree. Now as the tomato puree cooks, it's going to help give a really rich deep body to the sauce, and it's also going to help thicken it in the later stages. It's also going to start causing the meat and vegetables to start sticking to the bottom of the pan a bit. And what we don't want to do is waste those flavours that are starting to stick. So we're going to deglaze the pan with a splash of wine, and I mean a splash. And then continue that deglazing process with a little bit of the stock. And as you stir, you'll see that the pan becomes nice and clean at the bottom again. From there, just pour in the other half of your stock. I'm going to switch these pans over, put my sauce at the back and just let it simmer for about 10 minutes while I cook my steak. So now I've got a pan on nice and hot. We don't need to oil the pan because we've already oiled our steak. That's going to help stop the steak blistering and just get a really nice caramelisation. So while that cooks, I'm looking for a medium rare on this. Now there's a few ways you can tell that. First you can time it, or you could say 4 minutes cooking, 6 minutes rest. You can also probe it and look for the temperature, but the easiest way to do it is just to look at it. What you're looking for is the blood from the steak to rise to the surface. So once you've seared both sides of the steak, you'll see the juice from the middle start to come to the top and pool. Once that's happening, you've reached mid-rare. Another thing to remember when you're cooking a steak is don't mess with it. The more you turn it and mess around with it, the tougher it's going to get as the end result. You could end up with something that's like shoe leather. If you need to see what's going on, just lift up one end of the steak. You don't need to flip it and flip it back over. I always aim to only turn the steak over once. Okay, we're there. The blood's starting to come to the surface. I'm just going to remove my steak onto a chopping board to rest. And just like before when we didn't waste the flavour, pour a little bit of your sauce into the steak pan. So I've also deglazed the steak pan to get as much flavour into this sauce as possible. I'm just going to carve this steak at a slight angle. Now it's well rested. So just to finish off, I'm going to fold some nice chopped parsley through my sauce. Drain away some of the vegetables and just give it a little neat stack in the centre of your plate, and just lay that beef around the sauce, showing off some of that pink as much as possible. Finish with your remaining spring onions and a little bit of chopped parsley. So this is my lovely beef chasseur. Now, as a suggestion, you could serve this with potatoes, you could serve this with rice, pasta, or just as shown as a lovely refreshing light lunch. But be inspired by it, take it away, make it your own, and let me know what you create. Speaking of pasta, coming up next week, I've got some high protein turkey meatballs with some homemade hand cut pappardelle. I don't think you should miss out on that one, and if you agree, make sure you hit subscribe, and you'll find that video next Friday and all the other videos I've done on the channel. And before I go, if you haven't already, head to patreon.com/chef-at-home. You will be able to vote on the latest episode of Shit with Sugar On, my weekly challenge where you guys decide what I need to cook in 10 minutes. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.